I worked myself to death in my past life, but reborn as a noble. This time, I'm the one pulling the strings, not the one being crushed.
Armando is having a complete meltdown, ranting that all nobles are just selfish, parasitic monsters. Ryan watches his loyalty score plummet from a solid 50 all the way down to a pathetic 32. He realizes he's just accidentally speedrun his way into the guy's public enemy #1 list. He really tried to recruit a rare genius, but instead, he's made a bitter enemy. Just as the shouting match reaches a fever pitch, a sweet, innocent voice calls out, "Big brother, it's Yelena, his adorable little sister." Armando instantly switches from raging alchemist to protective big brother, desperately trying to shield her from the wicked noble standing right in front of them. Terrified that Ryan might actually do her some harm, Armando tries to physically drag her away, but Yelena is absolutely not having it. She spots Ryan and runs right up to him with a massive, beaming smile. Armando is utterly horrified, but Yelena just cheers. Mom said our good life is all thanks to Lord Ryan. The alchemist is officially confused, struggling to process why his sister is cozying up to the enemy. Ryan finally realizes Yelena's father was a star worker on his Grand Dam project, but Armando is stubbornly cynical. He points at her plain, shabby clothes, accusing Ryan of exploiting the poor and keeping them in rags. "See," he yells. "Nobles never change. They just want to fill their own wallets while everyone else starves in the gutter." Leah and Yelena both start firing back, passionately defending Ryan as the most caring lord in the entire city. Ryan tries to calmly explain the concept of light industry, that soon everyone will be wearing fancy, beautiful clothes, but Armando just rolls his eyes, thinking it's another pathetic fairy tale concocted to distract the gullible commoners from the truth. Armando decides he is absolutely done with this nonsense. He grabs his sister, warns her to watch out for evil, manipulative nobles, and storms off in a fit of rage. Ryan is left standing there, deeply conflicted, knowing he's letting a literal human supercomputer walk away forever just because of a simple, prideful misunderstanding. As Ryan moves to chase after him, a massive, sharp headache strikes his brain like a lightning bolt. His vision blurs instantly, the world spins, and he collapses hard onto the cold ground. The physical and mental stress of his relentless 3-day talent hunt has finally pushed his body past the breaking point, and he's out cold before he even hits the dirt. Ryan wakes up in his cozy castle bed, feeling like he's been run over by a speeding carriage. Leah is hovering over him, looking like she hasn't slept in an entire week. She explains that even though Ryan passed out in the street, someone very unexpected actually came back to check on him. It was Armando himself. Leah says Armando dropped off a mysterious, unlabeled medicine, claiming it would cure Ryan's sudden illness, before vanishing back into the city again. Ryan is completely shocked. The guy hates him, yet he still played the role of the secret doctor. Leah admits she didn't fully trust the mystery potion and had a royal city doctor perform a full lab test first. Ryan inspects the medicine, taking a deep, analytical sniff. He's impressed by the professional quality, planning a full lab test soon. Leah, however, questions his sanity, asking why he's so hell-bent on recruiting a man who openly despises his entire noble class. Ryan just smiles. He knows true, rare talent when he sees it, and he's now personally obsessed with uncovering the dark, painful secret behind Armando's deep-seated grudge against the aristocracy. While Ryan is deep in thought, the scene shifts to a quiet, dimly lit room. We see Armando sitting alone at his cluttered desk, staring at a faded, precious photograph of himself and an older, elegant lady. He cherishes the image, holding it with a look of profound, hidden grief that seems to explain every bit of his hatred. Armando sits alone in the dim light, whispering to a faded photograph of his late mentor, Lysel Grant. She was the city's greatest alchemist, a brilliant, idealistic genius who believed that true science should benefit the common public, not serve the greedy, powerful nobles. He is consumed by a burning obsession to finish her life's work and deliver cold, hard revenge on the bastards who ruined her. Lysel had raised him like her own son, passing down every scrap of knowledge from delicate potion brewing to the construction of complex mechanical devices. But her genius drew the wrong kind of attention. A jealous noble broke in, stole her research, slandered her as a practitioner of forbidden arts, and ultimately ensured her accidental demise 15 years ago. Tease a tragic backstory that would break any heart, but Ryan, acting like a pragmatic, somewhat cold-blooded CEO, is strictly focused on utility. He needs to find Armando immediately. And he's currently grilling the local nun, Ira. For intel, he shows zero patience for sentimentality, leaving Ira screaming at him to finally act like a decent human being. Ryan brushes off the moralizing with a sharp tongue, bluntly stating that sympathy doesn't pay the bills or solve his empire's problems. He needs that alchemist found before his industrial plans stall out completely. Ira finally cracks under the pressure and points him toward Lysol's old, abandoned residence, where all her remaining experimental equipment is tucked away. Ryan is desperate to decipher what Lysol was actually building before she was silenced. Ira strains her memory, and the word steam barely escapes her lips before Ryan physically grabs her shoulders, his eyes igniting with pure manic excitement. It's the breakthrough he's been hunting for, the missing piece of his grand industrial puzzle. Ryan is absolutely convinced that Lysol was attempting to build a functional steam engine. In his past life, he might have only glanced at blueprints, but in this magic-filled world, this machine is the holy grail of progress. He's not just looking for a mere toy. He is planning to single-handedly spark the global age of steam and change everything. He drags a bewildered Ira along and arrives at Lysol's dusty, forgotten workshop. Inside, Armando is hunched over his bench, tinkering away, completely oblivious that a high-stakes corporate shark is about to crash his sanctuary. He senses an intruder and frantically hides his project, looking ready to defend his master's precious legacy with his very life. Ryan marches into the workshop like he owns the place, completely ignoring Armando's furious, trembling protests. The alchemist is absolutely livid, desperately trying to block Ryan's path while the Lord cold-bloodedly demands to see the hidden research notes. It's a classic, ruthless corporate takeover, but with much higher stakes and a lot more personal, vengeful hatred involved. Armando is genuinely losing his composure. He whips out a jagged kitchen knife, pointing it directly at Ryan's throat, screaming that he won't let any filthy noble scum lay a finger on his master's research. Leah steps forward, ready to knock him into next week, but Ryan waves her off, totally unbothered by the steel blade held to his chest. Ryan steps closer, ignoring the lethal weapon, and mocks Armando for being an absolute idiot who doesn't understand the true significance of the steam engine. He laughs at the kid for letting such a world-changing invention gather dust in a basement. The tension in the room is suffocating, and the conflict is reaching its breaking point. Armando is fuming, shouting that Ryan couldn't possibly understand the depth of Lysol's work. Ryan just smirks with total confidence. He knows the secret to making that engine roar to life, and he is tired of being polite. He's ready to prove he's the only one alive capable of bringing Lysol's dream into the modern, industrial world. If Ryan can explain the mechanics better than the late master, Armando has to submit and listen. It's a terrifyingly bold gamble, but in this backward world of ignorance, Ryan is ready to show them the real power of modern engineering. Ryan challenges Armando to a high-stakes, life-altering bet. If he can successfully fix Lysol's engine, the alchemist serves him forever without complaint. If he fails, he bows at the grave and leaves the city for good. Armando thinks he's joking, but Ryan is dead serious, putting his entire reputation on the line to prove his genius. Armando is cynical, insisting Ryan lacks the insight to even identify the parts, let alone fix a legendary engine. But the bet is sealed. Ryan is already prepping his factory empire, imagining the alchemist as his head researcher. He's incredibly eager to finally see what Lysol left behind for him to tinker with. They arrive at the dusty workshop, and Ryan yanks the heavy cloth off the device with a flourish. His jaw drops. It's a genuine, classic steam engine. He hugs the cold metal frame like a brother, declaring that Lysol was a true visionary. Armando stands tall, proud that his master was a pioneer, unlike the greedy alchemists who chase empty clout. Armando admits he's guarded the house for years but hasn't a clue how to operate it because the notes were incomplete. Ryan immediately starts prepping to tear it down for a full mechanical inspection. Armando screams in frantic protest, terrified that Ryan will break his master's precious life's work into useless, unrepairable, and tragic scraps. Ryan scoffs, telling him there isn't a single machine in the universe he can't fix. He demands a screwdriver, but Armando stares back, completely clueless about the tool. Ryan is baffled by how the alchemist managed to maintain this complex piece of technology for so long without even knowing what basic hand tools were used for. Tired of the sass, Ryan snatches Leah's dagger to start unscrewing the housing. He's impressed by Lysol's beautiful internal design, but as he digs deeper, he notices some empty, highly suspicious mounting points. His excitement shifts to confusion, then a sudden, sharp, and terrifying realization of what exactly is missing. Ryan meticulously uses the sharp blade, prying at the rusted bolts with surgical precision. He works with intense, calculated focus, finally forcing the outer casing to pop open and exposing the inner core chamber, where he spots the catastrophic flaw in the assembly. Ryan stares at the empty, gaping slot and finally understands why it isn't working. He grabs Armando by the collar, furious and yelling that he knows a core engine part is missing, the critical, ancient piece that actually regulates the entire machine's power flow and ignition system. Armando finally confesses the bitter, gut-wrenching truth: a local big-shot noble stole the parts, when that absolute idiot discovered the components were forged from dragon crystal ore. He didn't even put them to use, he melted them down to build a tacky, oversized statue of himself. Ryan absolutely loses his cool. He's shaking with raw, murderous rage, unable to fathom how someone could destroy world-changing, priceless technology just to satisfy their own pathetic, bloated ego. The air in the room turns freezing cold as he demands the name of this absolute, irredeemable moron. Ryan stares Armando down, forcing him to spill the name. He is finished with the bureaucratic nonsense and ready to hunt down the person responsible. Whether they are a high-ranking duke or a prince, Ryan is going to make sure they regret ever melting down his precious steam core for a vanity project. Armando spills the beans. The guy who melted his master's dreams into a tacky statue is Duke Oscar. Aura is terrified, explaining Oscar is a pet project of the Emperor, essentially untouchable. But Ryan, he's not impressed. He just wants to know exactly where this great duke keeps his stash so he can plan a little corporate retaliation. The Duke's territory is in Grancel, a region currently under Grand Duke Teleros Elroy. Ryan's dad and Elroy are political rivals who spend their time fighting in the Imperial Council like children in a sandbox. Ryan doesn't care about their petty feuds, he just adds Oscar to his personal to-punish list. Leah notes that Grancel falls under Grand Duke Teleros Elroy's jurisdiction, putting it outside the reach of the Edgar family. Ryan recalls his father mentioning that relations with Elroy were frosty at best, as they clash constantly in the Imperial Council over their fundamentally different, deeply rooted political views and ideologies. Ryan decides to shelf the political drama for now, though he makes it crystal clear that Duke Oscar has been officially added to his black book. He promises to make Oscar regret ever melting down those gears. Ira is clearly worried, warning Ryan that confronting a high-ranking duke is a reckless, suicidal move. Ryan scoffs at the danger, insisting that he doesn't care about the risk because Oscar dared to destroy a priceless, world-changing invention. Armando is absolutely stunned that Ryan is seriously considering a direct, head-on confrontation with a duke. Ryan just tells him not to worry, promising to show the world its true value. Ryan asks if Lysol's notebook contains any core designs. Armando admits it doesn't, but finally mentions that she discussed the production of the engine parts with a master dwarf craftsman who lives in Arby. Ryan pats Armando on the shoulder, confident he can force the dwarf to talk. Armando is skeptical, knowing the dwarf has a notoriously short temper. Sure enough, as soon as they arrive at the workshop, the dwarf tells them to get lost immediately because he has zero interest in chatting with them. Ira tries to reason with the dwarf, Bram, explaining that Ryan has done much for the city, but Bram remains unmoved. He dismisses Ryan's accomplishments as basic duties any lord should fulfill. He just doesn't care about the hype. Then, he snaps and orders them out, refusing to build such things. Ryan steps in, agreeing with Bram that a lord is indeed expected to manage his territory well. He tells the grumpy craftsman that his very reason for visiting is to fulfill his duty to his people. This frank, sharp honesty finally catches Bram's attention, and he begrudgingly agrees to hear what the lord has to say. Ryan asks Bram to build the gears for the steam engine. The moment Bram realizes what Ryan is after, he explodes in anger again. He refuses to help. claiming that those very gears were the reason Lysol was targeted and killed. He's not building that death trap again. Bram blames himself for telling Lysol she needed dragon crystal ore for safety, which put a target on her back. He is determined never to forge such a thing again. Armando snaps back, scolding the dwarf for having a double standard, arguing that a blacksmith's job is to create. Bram insists the gear won't work even with the ore, but Ryan is curious about the insistence on dragon crystal. When Bram confirms it's the only material, Ryan laughs, claiming that a master craftsman shouldn't need such rare materials, and he plans to use simple, common iron ore instead to build it.